I am seeing a lot of people in the comments make a very big mistake, particularly around PIP and bank statements. Some people are commenting that because they're on PIP and they're not on universal credit, that they are immune from the bank statement interrogation, the 4-monthly bank statement drop, and quite frankly, the absurd bank statement saga that is going on in DWP land. Now, not only could that be further from the truth, but in actual fact, that could be one of the biggest things that could potentially be your biggest downfall if you have a disability, a chronic health condition, or a long-term illness. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking it down specifically, and I'm going to be explaining to you why your current understanding is a big mistake. Now, I have over 5,000 new subscribers to this channel. So hello, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the Justice Journal family. If you don't know who I am, my name is Ali. I used to work just for a couple of years for the Department of Work and Pensions. I ended up suing them single-handedly 3 times and winning unlawful harassment and failure to make reasonable adjustments in the workplace. Following that, I have become a very serious, successful disability advocate. I am the author of the #1 best-selling health journal. You can get this. I will leave a link down below, wherever you see it tagged here in my shop. And I am also the author of something else, which I'm just going to show you guys, because I know those of you who have got the health journal will know about this because you're on the early bird list. So let me share it with the rest of the world. And then we will get into the video. Welcome to Prove It. Track it, prove it, claim it. This is a complete one-time only course that I have done, and it is for anybody who is struggling to evidence their disability, whether that be for a PIP application, a reassessment, a PIP tribunal, an employment tribunal, an employment situation, work health program, or other. I go into this deep, and once you get inside it, trust me, you are going to eat. It is currently on an early bird offer for anybody that has bought the health journal. They get a special massive 50% bonus off, and the full course opens on the 27th of April. So if you are watching this after the 27th of April 2026, it's already live. But if you're watching it before, you can get it now at a 50% discount. And one of the reasons I've done this is because so many people message me. And when I say so many, I mean hundreds of people every single week across my multiple platforms email me and ask if they could book a one-to-one with me so I can do their PIP application. You don't need to do that. Once you have this, you will never, ever, ever have to go through the anxiety, the stress, the nightmare of evidencing your disability. This is a complete system. It's what I did for myself, for my course, for my claim. It helped me massively. It has helped lots of other people when I have done private consultations for my business clients. And now I'm releasing this for you guys. So you can have it. It's full-time access. You can have access for as long as you need. There is no, end date. Once you've got it for life. So there we go. Now let's get back into this massive misunderstanding about PIP and the bank statements. Now, I also see lots of well-being self-journalists report on this, okay? And I'm going to read you out a little quote that I see a lot written, stated, commented on. And it is this: PIP is not means tested. Your income, savings, work status, or other benefits do not affect your eligibility, and therefore you shouldn't have to provide your bank statements. Well, I don't agree with having to provide full unreducted bank statements. Anyway, we all know why I think that. That's why I created the data toolkit. I think once you start giving certain big organizations massive amount of data, which they lose and, do all sorts of things with, then we're on, all of us, potentially very shaky ground, particularly when we're dealing with people's personal data. And by the way, if you would like a further example of that, what you can see on the screen right here now is an immediate court order that the judge who is dealing with my case when I sued the Department of Work and Pensions, this is an immediate order that the judge had to make because DWP's entire legal team and DWP's entire 21 gallery-filled bunch of witnesses who were all work coaches and team leaders from the Department of Work and Pensions all failed to notice that they were looking at unreducted names and national insurance numbers of universal credit claimants in court papers. And employment tribunal court papers at this point were public documents. Anybody could access those documents by walking into the court and looking at the bundles. So this was actually made to make sure that they were immediately redacted and of course never put out into the public domain. However, this court case did take nearly 2 to 3 years to actually take to court. So those documents would have been lying around lots of different offices, in bags, suitcases, trains maybe, car parks, all sorts of places, completely unreducted. So again, when the Department of Work and Pensions are asking people for their personal data, I think they really need to sort out this sort of a situation first of all. Now, one thing, your bank statements tell a lot more about you as a person than how much money you're spending is your actual activity, your lifestyle choices, and your physical movements. Where you go, when you go out, when you buy something, what time it was, where you were, how did you pay, how frequently did you do that? Do you go out every day, several times a week, multiple times a month? Are you going on holiday? Are you having cheeky weekends away? Do you have activities and hobbies which your PIP declaration may say that you could definitely not do? Now, I'm not saying at all that everybody who claims PIP is doing anything dishonest. Clearly not. I am not saying that. However, when you give so much transactional data to an organisation who are potentially using this for AI, they make a lot of mistakes, human mistakes themselves, they then come to quite ill-kept assumptions, and then ill-kept assumptions become allegations. I've often said time and time again, 2 barristers could have the same bundle of evidence in their hands, and depending on who they were representing and what narrative they wanted that bundle to tell would be dependent on how they engineered all sorts of questions, responses, situations in the courtroom. DWP in their operations is not at all exempt from that same type of behaviour. And we've already seen from previous videos that I've done that the upper tribunal have already stated that DWP should not be taken at face value when it comes to making decisions on claims. But they are making decisions on claims. They are suspending people's claims, and they are closing people's claims if they don't provide transactional data. So what should you be doing? If it were me, I would not have that much transactional data for them to look at. If my money went into my bank account, I would 100% be drawing it out. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just telling you what I would do. I would make it so pointless for them to look at a bank statement that they would just give up. And I think that's really what a lot of people should do. There is a very big difference between requiring support, financial support, and then being consistently monitored and your lifestyle and everything you do. This is really covert surveillance without calling it covert surveillance, because you can bet your bottom dollar if they see something on your bank statement that they do not like, they are then going to go further into that. They are then going to perhaps even make an investigation around that, and you are going to have to try and defend yourself and how your disability is not doing the very thing that they say, or they will be saying, that it is doing. And all of that because of where you were and what you were doing and how you were spending your money at a certain time or night of the day or night. I also very much believe in the belief that you are innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. You know, that is something else that seems to be completely absent of this whole surveillance that is going on right now. So here are 3 potential red flags that could, if you're on PIP and you might even be working or not even working, there might be enough income coming into your household from other means that you do not need to claim benefits. But here are 3 red flags that would trigger potential investigations for you being on PIP because of what your bank statements may be showing. Number 1, now I really object to this because I've even had this used against me by DWP's barrister in court numerous times, and their senseless team leaders, of course, each and every single one of them failed. But monitoring how you are on social media. So your lifestyle on social media does not match your claim. We all know when people show up on social media, it's a few seconds of their life, and it's normally providing the best part of their life, or how they want to be seen, or how they want to project themselves. There is nothing wrong with that. Obviously, as long as you're not doing something completely, you know, fraudulent. If you're making a PIP claim saying you can't walk, but actually you've gone off to Tenerife and you're walking around a water park, going down slides and, you know, running across the field or the beach or whatever have you, obviously that's a big issue. That is potentially going to be fraudulent. That is not what I'm talking about. So they are not just looking at your activity and looking at whether or not your disability in real life on social media aligns with the activities that you say you can or you cannot do from your PIP declarations. But they're also looking to see whether or not you as a claimant, whether or not your lifestyle matches your declared income. And by the way, there's a very big feature about this in small to medium-sized enterprises business blog. Absolutely shocking. So if you tell DWP, for example, that you cannot walk to the end of your street and they see you on Instagram walking to the end of your street, they might just suspend your benefit. I can actually AI myself, and in lots of my other business content, I do AI myself. You see me doing all sorts of things that I couldn't actually physically do, but AI can make me do it. So I am not a fan of this at all, because with AI, so many things can be done today. Number 2, someone reports you. I've seen this in the comments, as I'm sure some of you have. Oh, my neighbour, they've got a disability card, but they don't seem to have a disability to me. Or my neighbour claims full PIP, but they seem fine to me. Kindly, you never know what people have got. Cancer is pretty invisible until you get to the terminal stages. You know, there are all sorts of things, all sorts of illnesses that you can have, all sorts of disabilities that you can have that would be pretty undetectable. Not every single disability is visible. Now, I will say, fortunately, DWP's fraud team in particular need to have a huge amount of very, what I would call A-OK evidence before they would even start investigating someone. So just because your neighbour wants to, you know, fit you up, and you know you do have a disability, that's not going to work, because the fraud team need to assess the situation with really good, clear, credible evidence, not just assumptions. Assumptions are not evidence, clear facts, and then they have to go to a team leader normally and try and bid that for a budget to then start an investigation. So the nasty little neighbour that's just got an axe to grind about something else, it's not going to work. So don't really worry too much about that. I wanted to put that one in there because I know it's a lot of the time in the back of lots of your heads. And the third thing is something in your claim, whether that be universal credit, ESA or other, something in that declaration that you've made triggers, we need to have a little wider look here. Now, lots of people who are on PIP don't close down their universal credit claim straight away if they've started work or they've started a business. So they may still technically be getting universal credit, but they might be getting a payment of £0 and 0 pence. So if you're wondering, but at the beginning of this, you said it was just for people who were not on benefits, I'm explaining this point here. And the reason why they do that is when people start a new job or when they start a business, it takes a lot longer for a brand new claim to be reopened than a reclaim. A reclaim is done like within a few days to maybe 2 weeks. A brand new claim can be 6 to 8 weeks. So I always used to say to people, if you're going to start a business or you're going to start a job, keep your claim open until you've got 6 months of £0 and 0 pence being paid out of your universal credit claim. It will automatically close. And then you will, obviously 6 months down the line, if you haven't had to, like if there's been no fluctuation in your wages, if you've been able to do your job, if you've been able to earn some income from your business, then obviously you don't need the universal credit, so you're all good. However, having that universal credit claim open, even if you're claiming absolutely nothing, the rules still apply. Even if you're getting £0 and 0 pence. So the information on your claim does need to align exactly with what your transactional data is telling them. And do not assume that your PIP is safe because you're not claiming any of these benefits. Now, nobody knows really when you work for universal credit where all these people work from, but one thing I can tell you is that your PIP claim can be closed down just as easily as any other claim. They are all connected. They can all see relevant data that you're giving them full access to, I might add. Okay, so moving swiftly on now to what can they see. I did cover a little bit in this in my last video, which you can watch here. But can they see from their little computer at DWP land every single one of your transactions? No, they cannot see every single one of your transactions. That's why they're asking you for the bank statements. Now, what is very clear from the FEAR Act, the Fraud, Error and Recovery Act, is this. They have certain intelligence systems that are set up about you, your declaration, your capital and your income. Now they have a direct line to the bank which asks them to match that information. Let's just say you're saying you're, poor as pants, you've got no money, you're like living on having to rely on universal credit. Meanwhile, you've got like 40 grand in your bank account and there's £5,000 a month coming into your bank account that you're not declaring to universal credit. That will be flagged by the bank, and the bank will then send that as a red flag, so to speak, to DWP land. And then that's when you're going to be very likely to be pulled in, if not perhaps put under surveillance first. Okay, if you got to the end of this video and you want me to do a video on the fluctuations conditions trap, let me know and I will do a video on that. I always like to tease you and see who's watching my videos right until the end. And don't forget to put your questions in the comments. And don't forget, you can get your health journal, your full evidence system, and of course now the new Prove It course over on the justicejournals.com. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Love to you all. I hope this has helped you all kind of get your ducks in a row so that you're doing things correctly and you're not being caught out with kind but general misinformation in the comments. Hope it helps.